Yo, what's up guys? It's Bill here, Classic Rock and Metal Review. Time for our bootleg review segment. We do this once a month where I take a close look, deep dive I guess you'd say, into some bootlegs I got. We're talking reviews, and I'll show you all the artwork. I know you can go online and see most of it. I'll show you the whole thing, inner sleeve kind of thing. Pretty cool. Got some great titles to talk about today. Got some Rainbow. The Scorpions I've been after for a long time, finally tracked it down. And glad I did. Some classic rock, some explosive classic rock by Cream. Nice Traffic title. All of it coming your way right now. Guys, the drink of the day, you know, when it's 6:30 a.m., it's got to be some Joe. In this case, Trader Joe's. French roast. Love it. Bold. Exciting. Oh, by the way, I got some cool beers lined up for the next segment, Black Sabbath. One of them, a 6.66 alcohol. Another one, got a nice Halloween-inspired, Bark at the Moon-inspired beer. Anyway, that looks good. Let's get right to it. First up, Rainbow. Now, I showed you a couple of these titles, actually, but just only briefly talked about them. Full-on, in-depth reviews right now that I've got a chance to soak them in a couple times each. Let's start out with Rainbow. Down to Earth, Rough Mix, Deluxe Edition. Kind of a mouthful of a title. Really good one, of course. Ronnie James Dio out as the singer, and Graham Bonnet in for his one album appearance with Rainbow. Now, I'm not a Rainbow aficionado. I have On Stage, Rising, and Long Live Rock and Roll. Love those albums. So I just wanted to poke my head into the next sort of stage with Rainbow. What a great lineup you got here, man. Of course, Richie, Graham Bonnet on vocals, who I thought his vocals might have been a little much watching that Passaic, Jersey concert. Sort of, just sounds like he's forcing himself. And even I even picked up Alcatraz not too long ago. Roger Glover on bass, Don Airey on keyboards, Cozy Powell on drums. But after listening to this, guys, I like his vocals. I think he's a good singer, So what we start out with here is the rough mix. So basically these are versions that were completed, just maybe alternate mixes, not really mixed down entirely yet. So just kind of, as it would imply, the title of Rough Mix. And by the way, these are coming from Cozy Powell tape, labeled, quote unquote, Rainbow Rough Mixes France, unquote. Original master cassette, a Scotch C60. Gotta love all those details, don't you? So we got 8 songs here, albeit with mostly different titles. There's vocals on all of them. Some of them have solos, some of them don't. The 2011 Deluxe Edition bonuses that Rainbow put out, most of them were instrumental. So I'm really glad that, and I didn't know that going in. I kind of looked that up a little after I already got this. So I'm glad these are like complete versions for the most part. Like I said, just a few of the first 8 songs, the rough mixes, some of them missing guitar solos. I kind of like hearing that, actually, I like hearing bass and drums just by themselves, maybe a little rhythm guitar, but not all that going on, just keyboards, bass, and drums, and some of those songs where solos are. So I like that. It's probably not really anything different than the final mix, other than it's just a little more raw. Sound quality a little bit flat, a little bassy, like typical rough mixes and demo tapes tend to be. But very good quality. On to one solo song by Graham Bonnet. This is from another Cozy Powell tape. This one says demo for Graham Bonnet's solo album lineup. And Set Me Free is the song. It says remix version here, so not a straight transfer from Cozy's tape. So that's kind of cool. It breaks up the 2 different Rainbow sessions, because next we get 7 songs. This more of a work in progress. This sounds like a rehearsal before they got to the mixing or recording stage, but also sounds really good. This one may be a little thinner sounding, still very good sound quality. Like I said, pre-recording rehearsals, so songs are all pretty much done. Everything sounds complete. There's vocals here. This has solos on everything, as far as I remember. Some of the vocals, though, can be a little sort of like scratch, scat vocals. There's only a small amount, though, but Bonnet just figuring out that maybe the lyrics aren't even all written yet or something like that. A couple of spots where he laughs a little bit. So for me, basically, the songs I like the most are the same ones I would like the most probably listening to the regular album. Eyes of the World, I think, is great, which had a working title of Mars. All Night Long, I like. There's 2 versions of that on the final session here, the rehearsal session, and one version of All Night Long. Just making sure of that. Yeah, one version up on the rough mix side too. That's great. And I really like Since You've Been Gone. Now, Since You've Been Gone isn't in the rough mix. It's just at the back end of the disc as part of the rehearsals, or they call them work in progress. But that sounds great here, really nice and clean. I kind of like hearing things with the flat, dry sound. No studio, reverb's been added and such. So this is a really good one, cool one to pick up. I admit a little ass backwards owning this before I own the real regular album, but you pretty much, from what I can tell, get the entire album on here. You can see the front cover I've already showed you a bunch of times. Inside, just a tray card, but on the inside of that, pretty cool shots of the band. The CD itself there, pretty cool. And then behind the disc, kind of cool shot. You got both of the tapes that are used to make this from Cozy's collection, so that's cool. Like when they do that stuff. And I've already showed you the back cover. And then, of course, do not forget that all-important collectible sticker, which I really think is BS, honestly. Notice almost all of mine are in the 200s, so not sure I entirely buy it, but there you go. There's your full packaging. Rainbow. All right, guys, next one up. Great title. Glad I picked this guy up. This was just a spontaneous thing. Cream, Sun Vanishes. Spoke a little about it a month or 2 ago. In-depth time for this one. 2 CDs, silver press. Empress Valley Supreme disc. Really a Mid Valley is the company on this. A sort of offshoot of Empress Valley. Great job on this one. Guys, I think this was $20. 2 CDs, silver press. How do you say no? It's a soundboard from Detroit, Michigan. October 15th, the Grand Ballroom. And what a great concert. I mean, just, the classic, only lineup really, right? Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker. The songs here, guys, are almost besides the point. It's just 3 masters of their realm doing their thing and doing it amazingly. I'm not a huge Cream fan in that I just never really had much of their material. So it was really was part of the reason why I got this. I wanted to, see what all the hubbub is. I only had Best of Cream growing up, so let me get some real Cream. An authentic concert, not something, touched up afterwards. I know they had a live album, which I'm sure is incredible. Not knocking it, but for me, this is where it's at when it comes to hearing bands. Bootlegs, warts and all. So, every song on here, no matter what the title is, basically is an all-out assault on your sonic senses here. Clapton's sound on his guitar is just so damn heavy. It's unbelievable. And just to point out that this must have been released before. We have a new mix here, and specifically what it says in the tiniest print, so I'm glad I rewrote it over here. Remixed version with centered vocals of the old PA/stage source. So I guess at some point there was an alternate source for the vocals. Now they're restoring it back to how it originally sounded coming from the stage. So kind of cool. Disc 1, there's no intro at all. The concert just starts, and man, it starts with probably my favorite Cream song of all time, Tales of Brave Ulysses. The sheer wall of noise when the jamming starts, when the band comes in, it starts with that quiet beginning. When the band crashes in, man, I think, there was one other song that comes to mind from Zeppelin on their Royal Albert Hall 1970. It's part of the DVD collection. When they do I Can't Quit You Baby, and the band just bashes in there, that sonic just wave, man. Same thing here with Tales of Brave Ulysses. When the band starts playing, it's It knocks you over. Next one I really like a lot, NSU. You know, the only time I'm happy is when I'm playing my guitar. It's awesome. Just great song. That was one of these songs where like, I never knew what the damn title was. So, man, this is one of my favorites too. Another all-out heavy blues tour de force. You know, you ever hear the expression "Clapton is God"? You know, this is the song. This is the album that kind of proves where all that's started. So, at the very least, if not proves it's true. Awesome. This is basically Exhibit A for that statement. You've heard it a bunch of times. Sitting on Top of the World, I think some basic blues from that one, slow blues. And this is one of the few songs that's just regular length, 4 minutes. Everything else on here is 10 to 15 minutes long. Sweet Wine's another really good one. That's the 4th song on CD 1. Another jam fest. But what's cool is it's not just like 3 solos. They all have solo spots, but the way they just seamlessly come in back together again before going off on another sort of solo, whether it's drums, guitar, or harmonica, they all have solo parts in this song, but they're just able to reconvene every now and then and bring it all back together before going off again. It's just seamless, These guys are just masters. Rolling and Tumbling to end disc 1. Disc 2, Spoonful, not my favorite song in the first place, but everything on here is just great. Stepping Out, Train Time's kind of cool, really just a shuffle and drum and harmonica for the most part by Jack. Toad is good, but my favorite I think on disc 2 is I'm So Glad. It's only a basic song for 1 or 2 minutes, goes off into another jam fest. Clapton just once again just tears this song a new a-hole. Just forget everything you've heard this guy play in the last 55 years and go find yourself some Sun Vanishes. It's amazing. Really, I used to listen to a lot of this stuff when I first got into classic rock, late 80s, my late teens. Covered the basics for a couple years there with greatest hits albums. Then started getting into these kind of things. So this was kind of like going back in time and away from me, listening to a band just jam. We started buying bootlegs in the late 80s. So anyway, little tribute to Record Castle at 5 Points in Philly. They used to stock this stuff regularly. Also record conventions, we would grab things like this. Not specifically this, my first time hearing this one. Excellent. Showed you the front cover. When you flip it open, tray card to another shot of Clapton. CDs, each look pretty much the same. Not much on that. I like how they got the title written out though. Back behind disc 2. This actually looks like a cooler version than the cover. That's kind of awesome. And I've already showed you the back cover, and discs 1 and 2 look pretty much the same. Guys, Sun Vanishes is awesome. Cream title. All right, guys, this is an awesome one. I've been hoping to find this. I've been trying to find this one for a couple years, and actually had to go to a second Japanese bootleg site to get it. And I was reluctant to use them. They just kind of, I don't know, the one I was using, Disc Japan, been very reliable. No issues with them. Great packaging and all as far as getting these things in the mail. Very rarely any issues with anything like that. And I've been using them for a couple of years. So I had to go to RZ for the first time. But first experience with them was great. Last one, I got a bunch of titles, almost every jewel case cracked. But who cares about that? Let's talk about this guy, the Scorpions, Love at First Sting, demos and rehearsals. Disc Japan sold out of this for, since I've been on there for a couple of years. So on to RZ to pick this one up. And it is a really, really cool one. Scorpions, Love at First Sting, demos and rehearsals. It's on the Shades label. It's a silver pressed CD, runs about 40 minutes. I'm going to talk about the packaging first, only because it's pretty cool. You only get a tray card in the front, okay? But they make the most of it. On the inner sleeve there and written down on the bottom is a nice description of what you're listening to. And you usually don't get much about these kind of things. You can dig them up online kind of thing, but usually not right in the CD itself. So take a closer look at the rest of the packaging. I just wanted to point that out, that's how I know what I'm about to tell you. So we'll assume it's true. News to me, but apparently drummer Herman Rarebell and bassist Francis Buchholz were both out of the band. Released from the band in '83 after the Blackout tour. Rarebell, the drummer Herman Rarebell, had substance abuse issues and was actually being treated for it while these demos were being recorded. He, of course, returned to the band, followed by Buchholz, in time to record Love at First Sting album. But here we have what appears to be mostly a single live in the studio session of a run-through of the entire album. Now, one song's missing, but we also do get one unreleased song, which is pretty cool. It's just an instrumental, but this one's good. I think they could have made a song out of this for sure. So it's before Herman Rarebell and Francis Buchholz were back in the band. If you ever think back on it, and this is something I learned not too long ago, that they used Don Dokken to record demos for Blackout when Klaus Meine, I think, had surgery on his vocal cords, I think. He was out of action for sure. So these guys just keep things plowing along, Dieter Dierks, of course, managing them. This guy just, gets things done, right? But what's interesting, now at one point they had Neil Murray involved in these demo sessions. He's not on here, but who is on here is Jimmy Bain of Rainbow fame. Kind of cool. And on drums, Bobby Rondinelli, who I really got a lot of respect for him. This was a 1994 bootleg with Sabbath. His playing on there is stellar. I think the best non-Billboard drumming I've ever heard with Black Sabbath is Bobby Rondinelli on that 94 Cross Purposes tour. It's great. I love it. He doesn't overplay anything, but his style is just close enough towards, different enough. It's just perfect. So he's great. The songs structurally the same as they would be on Love at First Sting, for the most part. Some alternate guitar solos, which is kind of cool. A few different things with rhythms, but generally pretty much things are how they would be on the album. As you would expect. So, guys, I had no idea about this lineup when I ordered this title. I was just strictly ordering, demos, I actually search the word demos when I'm searching for bootlegs, It's how much I'm into them. As is typical for, demos and rehearsals, just like the Rainbow, a bit flatter sound, a little drier sound, especially the drums, but even the guitars a little bit. Sometimes, that can make the guitars seem even heavier without that studio kind of, but not really here. They're just as heavy as they are in the album, I feel like. Very good sound. Basically, it's like an alternate version of Love at First Sting, which is awesome. I would say my favorites on here would basically just be the same as the regular album. Now, guys, I picked up Love at First Sting again a year or two ago. I still haven't thrown it on. I've just been inundated with new material. And that really can be a love you long time episode. I haven't had that album in like 30 years, so. But the ones that I did see them in concert last year, but Bad Boys Running Wild, which has a different title here, different chorus, Heartbreaker. It's the first one on the disc. That's great. Rock You Like a Hurricane's kind of cool. Now, I'm not usually into instrumental versions of songs, with typically have lyrics and all. But this one I don't really mind. If there's going to be a song on here that's instrumental and not with vocals, this is the one I've heard 100,000 times. So it's kind of cool hearing it just as an instrumental. I'm Leaving You. Forgot how much I love that song. That's great here. Kind of does a little stutter thing when it goes from the verses into the chorus. And the Jimmy Bain, Bobby Rondinelli rhythm section here, they kind of fumble that. It's almost like they're maybe still working on it. But it's not a smooth transition like it would be on the album. But I kind of like that. I kind of like that you're hearing a little sort of fly on the wall experience listening to this. Big City Nights, I know that song was really popular. That song's really catchy. I love that song. And Still Loving You is awesome. The one we get that's new here is called Pretty at Night. Instrumental only. You can really just hear what Klaus Meine probably would have done if he had sang on it. It's just kind of, I don't know, I feel it, what he would have done. It's pretty good. I think this would have been a good song. But, of course, that album was full of good songs. So here you go, guys, the demos and rehearsals for Love at First Sting. Awesome title. Glad I tracked it down. Jury's still out on RZ for me. So far, so good with the prices and things playing all right and all stuff like that. The prices are great. Their shipping's a little ridiculous. They charge you like basically for each item. So the things can be cheaper in the first place if you catch one of their sales. But they do jack up things with the shipping anyway. You just got to balance it all out. In this case, they had something like this that I've wanted for years. So glad I got it. All right, guys, next up, Traffic, Low Spark of High-Heeled Sessions. I already showed you this once before, talked briefly about it. Talk a little more about it now. Great album from 1971. So this is on the Zooey label, and it's a CDR. It is a soundboard. I think it ran me 16 or 17 bucks. So, when something comes in full-on packaging, like a jewel case, and I can't get it anywhere other way, physically anyway, without downloading it. I want a physical copy. Now, I'm finding myself, guys, raising the white flag, buying these freaking CDRs. Ultimate lineup here, great. I think their best album. You got Steve Winwood on keyboard, probably on guitars on some of the album too. Vocals, of course. Jim Capaldi, percussionist, singer. Chris Wood, he's your sax man, flute. Rick Gretsch from Blind Faith is on bass. Jim Gordon, drums. Rebop, Kwaku Ba on percussion. So full sound, 6-piece lineup. I just love this lineup and this album. Most successful album for the band. All right, got to number 7 in the US and went platinum eventually. Now, I don't understand this at all, man. In the UK, this thing failed to chart. I mean, how does that happen? Come on. I'm sorry. UK, you can keep your humor and your opinion of Traffic, all right? Because this is a masterpiece. Not all of you, but I don't know. Not enough of you dug this to even get it in the charts at all. Come on. So we got actually a couple different sessions here. February 9th, May 19th, and August 25th. We're at Olympic Studios in London, 1971, like I said. The title track, Low Spark, pretty just sounds like an alternate take of what ended up on the album. Might be a little bit more percussion going on, or at least the levels are higher. A little more of it going on, I think, too. Very good alternate take, but doesn't knock your socks off only because it's just pretty close to the final version. Now we start getting into some great stuff, Rock and Roll Stew, but it's a driving straight ahead version, not a choppy, not a burnout. It's more like a ding 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 ding, kind of the way I think like Keith Richards would do it if they were playing it live. The way the Stones do, It's Only Rock and Roll live. They just do a straight ahead version of it. That's kind of the feel I get off of this. And crystal clear production on this one. Low Spark's a little dull and bassy or something, a little flat. This one sounds awesome. Rainmaker sounds great. This is an alternate take with a great end jam workout that's at least a minute longer than the album, maybe 2. Really cool. Fourth is another version of Rock and Roll Stew. Now this one is the way that it would end up on the album, and it doesn't sound a whole lot different. This one, the backing vocals may be a little higher on this, and a little bit of an extended end jam again. So cool for track number 4. Light Up or Leave Me Alone. A lot like the final record. I almost can't tell a difference, and it's a little distorted, but still cool to hear it. Now we get 3 different unknown Traffic jams, and these are all great. The first one is Traffic by themselves, and it sounds it. These are all like 3 or 4 minute jams, so they're not like extended things. They're all really good though, and they're all a little different from each other, but they're all sort of in the same realm of being 4-minute jams with the same sort of tone or feel, and they're all great. The CD ends with 2 different versions of It's So Hard, Jim Capaldi and Jim Gordon, just with an acoustic in the studio rehearsing this song that I've never heard of before. It's okay, nothing's fantastic. And then Easter Weekend is a Jim Capaldi solo song that never really got to an album as far as I can tell. There's 2 versions of that. So honestly, guys, I'm probably going to download this into iTunes and then burn my own version of this because I just don't like... I think it would sound more interesting to mix up, you have 3 instrumentals in a row, 2 versions of an acoustic song, and then 2 versions of another acoustic song. I think I would just pluck 1 version of each of those. Maybe start this out with one of the instrumentals, go into one of the rock and roll stews, then throw your low spark in there, one of the acoustic It's So Hard. So, just mix it up, make it more interesting. This is one I'm going to probably reshuffle or do a reversion of in my iTunes and pop this into a double CD. Inside cover, you get it. It's basically a tray card. It folds out, but there's nothing inside it. So that other shot of the band. Nothing behind the CD, just plain white. But there's the disc itself. And then I've already showed you the back cover. That's all there is to the artwork, guys. Pretty minimal, but like I said, CDR, 16, 17 bucks. Awesome. Oh, by the way, I came across this coincidentally last week at a record store. They had the same thing, different label. This one, what do they call themselves? Cellar Dweller. I thought I was stealing myself for $9 a silver version of this. But it's in, I'm not going to unwrap it. I wrapped it up. I'm going to give this to one of you guys. It's the same, it's a CDR also. Same exact content. Actually way cooler cover. There's even pictures on the inner sleeve that look pretty cool. A little more explanations to the songs and stuff. One of you guys interested in this? When we hit 1,000 subscribers, I added this to the pile. I'm actually going to be giving away 10 things. I found a few more cool things laying around. They call this one Low Spark, a High-Heeled Boys Sessions. Just a little different title. Now, when I first played it, the first song was playing a little funny. Second time, a little funny, but not as bad. And then the third time I went to play it, it played fine. So no promises with this. It should play okay for you. I don't know what, I blew the dust off it or something. Who knows? Guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Bootleg Review. Just looked at 4 awesome titles. If you guys want to like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Do this every month where I go through several new bootleg titles, full reviews, give you the updates, show you all the packaging, all that good stuff. We do cool stuff like this all month. Forget those other guys. Or keep those other guys around, but you need this. You know you do. All right, man. Everyone have a great day.